Most Americans haven't realized it yet, but the ground under retirement is already shifting, and the cracks are starting to show. Picture this. More than 70 million people count on Social Security every month. Beginning in 2026, the framework changes in ways that will affect every one of those payments. You may think you're in line for a bigger deposit, but here's the tough reality. What you gain could disappear before you even touch it. That's why the discussion matters today, not tomorrow. Share your age and state in the comments. I want to see who's actually preparing smartly, because the choices you make now may determine your comfort for decades. Let's begin with what looks like encouraging news on the surface. In 2026, Social Security is expected to deliver a cost of living adjustment of about 2.7%. For the average retiree, that's roughly $50 to $60 extra each month. A modest bump, but one many count on. The catch? That increase is already spoken for. While your check inches higher, healthcare costs are racing far ahead. Medicare Part B premiums are projected to rise over 11%, crossing the $200 mark monthly. On top of that, the annual deductible rises too. Do the math, and what looked like a raise becomes a wash. That extra income is gone almost instantly. For countless retirees, it feels like running in place, while expenses pull further away. The danger isn't only losing money, it's the illusion of progress. Believing you're better off when in truth, your buying power keeps slipping. But that's just the beginning. The larger shift ties to something whispered about for decades. The full retirement age finally reaches its new ceiling. For anyone born in 1960 or later, 2026 is the year full retirement age officially settles at 67. That's when you can claim your full benefit without penalty. Early claiming remains possible, but the cut is harsher than ever. Take it at 62, and your lifetime benefit shrinks by nearly 30%. This isn't just a government statistic. It's a permanent reduction to the check you may rely on for the next 20 or 30 years. For those already squeezed by healthcare bills, inflation, and everyday costs, that reduction can hit like a brick. What makes this crucial isn't only the dollars, it's the freedom you lose. Retiring early to enjoy family, manage health, or actually live the years you worked for, those choices shrink when the new retirement age is locked at 67. And compared to what follows, these early changes are just the warm-up. Once the age ceiling is fixed, the system places more weight on how much you work while drawing benefits. That's where the earnings test comes in, and it surprises many. In 2026, the limit edges upward. If you're younger than full retirement age, you can earn about $24,360 before a single dollar of Social Security gets held back. Earn more, and for every $2 you make, $1 is withheld. For those reaching full retirement age during 2026, the limit rises to around $65,000 and the penalty eases to $1 withheld for every $3 earned. After that birthday, there's no cap at all. You can work as much as you want and keep every penny. On paper, that sounds like real freedom. But the trap lies in misunderstanding how withholdings are repaid. Yes, withheld benefits are later recalculated into your monthly check, but it can take years to break even. Many retirees who go back to work don't realize how much this delay can choke cash flow in the years when liquidity is most critical. At the same time, 2026 raises the taxable wage base for Social Security. The cap on earnings subject to payroll tax climbs from $176,100 to $183,600. For higher earners still working, that's more than $460 extra pulled each year into the system. For middle-income retirees, it changes nothing, since all their wages are already taxed. But politically, the weight is heavier than the dollar amount suggests. Critics point out that multi-million-dollar earners only pay Social Security tax on a fraction of their income, while regular workers pay on every dime. That fuels debates in Washington, with some pushing to raise the cap to $250,000 or even $400,000. Nothing has passed yet, but the possibility alone means future retirees must plan for shifting tax burdens that arrive late in life. And the consequence isn't only higher deductions, it's the uncertainty injected into retirement planning. Uncertainty is the enemy of stability. But these still aren't the hardest changes. Even the basic entry requirements for the system are moving. To qualify for Social Security at all, you need 40 work credits, with no more than 4 earned per year. Each credit equals a minimum earnings threshold that rises with inflation. In 2025, one credit equals $1,810 in wages, meaning you need over $7,200 to capture all 4 credits. In 2026, that number climbs again. Younger workers may shrug it off as minor, but for part-timers, seasonal workers, or those leaving the workforce to care for family, those added dollars per credit can push the timeline dangerously long. Miss the 40 credit mark, and Social Security simply can't pay retirement benefits, regardless of how many taxes you've already contributed. It's a rigid rule, and every annual adjustment makes it a little tougher. Yet as strict as that sounds, the deeper issue looms larger. None of these adjustments, to COLA, to earnings limits, to tax caps, will matter if the system itself runs dry. And that's the shadow economists keep warning about. By 2033 or 2034 at the latest, the Social Security Trust Fund will be depleted. That doesn't mean the program vanishes, but it does mean automatic across-the-board cuts of about 20% if Congress fails to act. Imagine your monthly check instantly dropping by $1 in every $5, not from any mistake of your own, but because the fund that pays benefits went empty. Retirees must take this seriously because it alters every decision: when to claim, how much to save, how long to work. Unlike small changes to COLA or credits, this affects everyone, no matter your income, birth year, or work history. It's universal, and that's what makes it dangerous. The policy options in Washington are politically charged. Some suggest raising the retirement age again, perhaps to 68 or even 70, shifting more burden onto younger generations who may live longer but not necessarily healthier. Others want to raise the payroll tax cap sharply, forcing higher earners to fund more of the gap. Still others propose changing the inflation formula used for COLA, tying it to a slower-growing measure and quietly shrinking benefits over time. Each approach creates winners and losers. None has gained consensus, and uncertainty itself becomes the greatest risk. When people can't plan around stable rules, trust erodes. Without trust, Social Security weakens before any official cut even arrives. And few people talk about the underlying demographic problem. Social Security isn't a savings account, it's pay as you go. Today's workers pay for today's retirees. But when fewer workers support more retirees, the formula collapses. That's the reality right now. In 1950, 16 workers supported 1 retiree. Today, it's closer to 3. By the time today's younger boomers are deep in retirement, it could dip below 2. That imbalance isn't hypothetical. It's simple math. It guarantees stress on the program, no matter what markets or politicians say. Which means the only solutions are bring in more revenue, pay out less, or both. None feel comfortable, but the longer reforms are delayed, the sharper and harsher they'll be. So, what should retirees or those close to it do now, facing such uncertainty? Waiting for Congress is not a plan. The practical step is to assume Social Security will be less generous in the future, and prepare around that assumption. Expect cuts, not windfalls. Choose your claiming age with the idea that rules may tighten again. Budget with healthcare inflation in mind, since it routinely outpaces COLA adjustments. And most importantly, see Social Security as one leg of the stool, not the whole chair. Because while the system shakes, your preparation can stabilize it. But don't breathe easy yet. The harshest reality is still at the end of the list. By 2026, Social Security will be only 7 years from insolvency. 7 years isn't far away. It's the blink of an eye for someone already in their 60s. The trust fund depletion isn't a rumor. It's in the official reports. If lawmakers allow the clock to run down, automatic cuts of around 20% hit everyone. Imagine living on a fixed budget, already stretched thin by premiums, food, and housing, then losing 1/5 of your benefits overnight. That isn't a trim. That's a wrecking ball. Millions would be pushed below the poverty line almost immediately. For decades, Social Security has been the dependable foundation, the one check you could count on regardless of politics or markets. But the threat of automatic cuts makes that foundation unstable. This is why experts stress urgency. Every year without reform makes the solution harder. Gradual fixes, like raising retirement age by 2 months a year, don't buy enough time anymore. Small payroll tax hikes don't close the gap either. What's left are blunt, unpopular moves, and the longer lawmakers wait, the more brutal those measures will be. Retirees will bear the heaviest weight, Because they have the least flexibility to adapt. A 35-year-old can work longer, save more, switch careers. A 68-year-old cannot just reset. That's why this final truth is the most dangerous. But clarity matters here. You're not powerless. You can't control Washington, but you can control when you claim, how you spend, and whether you prepare for leaner checks. The wisest retirees today are building plans as if benefits will drop by 20% within a decade. If cuts never come, that's a bonus. If they do, you're ready. This isn't about fear, it's about resilience. Build buffers, diversify income, and never assume the government will cover the shortfall without demanding sacrifices from you first. Those who prepare now will manage the storm. Those who don't could find themselves scrambling at the worst possible moment. So let's close here. The 7 shifts coming in 2026 aren't distant theories. They're real and happening. They'll touch every American relying on Social Security. From COLA increases swallowed by Medicare, to a higher retirement age that locks in lifetime cuts, to rising earnings limits, taxable caps, and tougher work credit requirements. Each step narrows the path to a secure retirement. And overshadowing them all is the insolvency countdown. You deserve the truth, not sugar-coated promises. If you followed this breakdown, it proves you care about protecting your future. Stay connected. I'll keep giving you clear, straightforward updates on the rules shaping your retirement. Hit that subscribe button because when it comes to Social Security, knowledge isn't just power, it's survival.